everybody. Ooh, Nancy, I like those glasses. Oh, I can't hear you.
I broke my other ones.
Oh. Hopefully you're doing something fun.
I wish to.
You know, these were my first pair of glasses, and my daughter broke them when she was younger. And then I had a second pair that I was using, and I got more compliments on the second pair than I ever did on the first pair, so I just kept with the second pair. And then the second pair just broke recently, so now I'm back to the first pair.
Thank goodness for that spare, right?
Indeed. Hello, hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Karen. Karen.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Candace.
Good morning.
Good to
Hi,
see
Elizabeth.
everybody. I think everybody's got their glasses on today. must be that kind of day. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump in. Who's got some wins to share with us today? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay. First off, before I share the win, you're very hard to hear this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to sort of do a bit of a cheer. I was really doing a bit of a dive over the past few weeks and just getting back to basics, looking at the basics, thinking about it from, you know, could it be the adrenals? Could it be the thyroid? What's going on? Is it the mitochondria? And just happening to have a few little supplements lying around like zinc and selenium and iodine. I started taking them and way, I'm going again. You're back again. This sounds good.
Good.
Yeah, so I am just absolutely thrilled. And what did I learn from that? That actually, when things are going wrong, it's really good sometimes just to go back to the basics and look at the basics.
Yeah, sometimes it's more important to take things away than it is to add things, and sometimes it's important to go back to those basics. Wonderful.
Yeah, no, really great. So I was really thrilled.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for letting me know about my audio. I have this other mic over here, which I use for singing. And so I forgot that that was plugged in because I had my voice coaching yesterday. So thank you. Other wins. It can be a small one. I got out of bed, cleaned my house. Yes, Karen Purvis.
We've had hazardous air for over a week due to the wildfires, and it rained last night, and today you can actually step outside and breathe.
Oh, nice.
So to me, that's a big deal. So
That is a big deal. Yes, I know, because I'm just a couple hours north of you.
yeah, I was housebound for over a week, and it was not fun.
Yeah, it's a bit kind of cruel and unusual punishment where, you know, you're not supposed to see people because we've got COVID going on, and so the only reprieve you really have is to kind of get outside because we're inside all day on our computers for school and whatnot. And now we can't go outside. So I've just been thinking about what is the lesson in this, and when I get frustrated, what am I supposed to be learning? Is it patience? You know, like it's challenging. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah, I'm lacking on patience, so probably it's good for me.
That's right. And it's like, okay, well, what else can I do? Or what can I do? That's always a question that I ask when I get frustrated, is what can I do right now to make progress on X, Y, and Z? Or what can I do right now to feel better about my situation? Great. Thank you. Other wins. Hello, Margot. Good to see you. We're just going over some wins. Who's got a win? Lynn, please share.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I think one of the lessons for me in this chronic fatigue syndrome is to be better able to receive. And I'm blessed to have a husband who has been 110% supportive, and I'm finally allowing myself to just let him take over the cooking, which he has, happily done. It's just me who's had trouble letting that happen.
Wonderful. Yeah, I find that so many of us are more on the perfectionistic side. Oftentimes when you put pressure on yourself, that just contributes to any sort of stress that we have going through life and just increases any sort of mental, emotional load that we already carry.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a lot of the learning for a lot of us, is letting things go. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anybody else before we dive into questions? Margot's got something. What do you got there, Margot?
A little book to write in daily 3 things that went well this day.
Wonderful. I love that.
Sometimes it's difficult to find them, but I'll do it.
Good. Yeah, we're just retraining the brain here. We're stopping those loops that are keeping us down. Great job. All right, well, let's dive into your questions. Las preguntas. So let's start off with Elizabeth. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself, Elizabeth. I see that you've disappeared, so I can also come back to you.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I was just eating breakfast, so I just put it. I just thought you guys didn't want to see me chewing.
Oh yeah, you can actually, yes, I forgot we were going to do Europe first. So let's do Margot first. You can eat a little bit. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
All right, Margot, let's start with you. So you said...
Yeah, for me, it's long past sleeping time.
Yes, exactly.
For me, it's long past sleeping time.
Right. What time is it for you?
10 o'clock. Usually I go to bed at 8:30.
Uh-huh.
So now we're starting at 10 o'clock. So my brain is shutting down.
So we better do this quick.
So I'll see how far I get.
Okay, good. There's always the recording, fortunately.
I'll disappear. Yeah. I'll disappear when I fall asleep.
Right. If you stop talking and you're no longer on the screen, we'll know what happened.
Yeah, okay.
So you've been struggling for some 3 years to get your gut happy, but haven't been tested after the last cure. Okay? That one ended some 8 months ago. Would this be a good time to do so? It's the GI map test, right? Well, let me go through the rest and then I can answer that question. But yes, generally, after you've gone through a treatment, whether it's some sort of natural antimicrobial to kill whatever infections you had in your gut, usually that's for 3 or 4 months, and then you take a month or 2 off and you do the stool test. So that would definitely make sense. If you're asking about whether it's the top priority for you, that's a different question. But I think that to answer what I think you're asking, the answer would be yes, and it's the GI map.
Yeah.
And then you said you're still waiting for the results of the mold test. How about I continue doing something about possible stealth infections? I think that's a great idea. For the general symptom list, 6 come up. When you go through them, only Bartonella fits the bill, may fit the bill. In 2012, tested by practitioner, and Borrelia came up. Was that muscle testing?
No, it was, yeah, some kind of muscle testing. I don't know. It was a kind of machine, and you hold something, and then it's. He said Borrelia was coming. I didn't even know what it was. Lyme, I knew our queen had been bitten by a tick and had Lyme, but that's all I ever knew about Lyme. But we have always been walking in the woods, on everywhere. So it's very probable that I got bitten by a tick.
Right.
I don't doubt it, but nobody ever talked about it. It was not something that I know. And I heard your that it was more than what the list we have here, also with stretch marks and things like that. I never had those. The fatigue comes up, yeah, but not so much the other symptoms. And with the other stealth infections, none of them fit, except Bartonella. But then it's the cold hand and feet, fatigue, insomnia, muscle cramps, hypothyroidism, anxiety, depression, and Raynaud's. So it's mostly cold. It's mostly the hypo, not the sore feet. And that's a very typical one, but I don't have it. But
do you have the,
for the rest,
what about muscle cramps?
yeah, I have them. I have those, calves and feet.
Okay.
And usually
often?
when I'm laying down, I'm laying down,
Okay.
I'm sleeping.
Well, that's pathodiagnostic enough. So that's a very strong likelihood of Bartonella. And then if you also have cold, and especially since you got to a place where if you still had cold feet when your thyroid was too much.
No, but it was 90 degrees.
Okay.
So
Yeah, but if generally, if we ramp up on somebody's thyroid and they still have cold feet, then it's Bartonella. Because the Bartonella is causing this clamping down on the blood vessels.
no, hang on. We have been going down on the thyroid.
Right, because you were too high.
It was too high.
Right.
But during the time that I was taking what I have been taking, let's say the last 4 or 5 years, I was very, very happy that I was not cold all the time. Usually I would, take a shower, a very hot shower for half an hour, several times a day, just to get my temperature up. Or I would go to bed just to defreeze. That would take a couple of hours. So I didn't have those anymore. But okay, cold hand and feet, yeah, but not like before, and not like the Raynaud's. Not, it would be a normal temperature. Let's say 20 degrees in Celsius. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit. Let's say 70, 65, something like that, which is quite a normal temperature. And my hands would get red, white, and blue, and I would be a windmill in the middle of a supermarket just to get the blood to my fingers. That would get it better.
So that's called Raynaud's.
Yeah, that was Raynaud's, and it was very bad. That.
Yeah. So I think Bartonella is the infection that you should be working on.
Okay.
I would definitely agree with that, and we'll talk about how to do that. And then you said, would it be useful to continue the olive leaf extract? So that one is most important for viruses.
Yeah.
So,
for the COVID.
Yeah, and so, well, you're saying for the COVID. So you're saying you're laying on the couch most of the day. Is that since the COVID?
It's worse since the COVID.
It's worse.
A lot worse. Because I used to, potter around a bit and do exercise, weightlifting 3 times a week. But now it's, okay, I don't dare to go to the gym. That's one thing. But I don't know. I'm so tired. I mean, I cannot, when I'm reading, but I'm reading the same books all over and over again. I don't have the energy to read a new book. Yeah. And when there's something that something little that you say, okay, I forgot this downstairs. And I have to go downstairs again. That kind of things.
Right.
And I didn't have it in the degree that I have it now. Now it's mostly, okay, I lay on the couch watching some YouTube or something, and then I go somewhere else, or I lay in the sun, but I'm laying most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it definitely sounds like COVID has made things worse. So
Yeah.
what I would recommend, so the olive leaf can definitely help. How much olive leaf have you taken so far?
1 pot, 3 a day.
Okay. And
One
how long?
pot that was 20 days, I think.
And you took it for about 20 days?
I think it was 20 days. I'm not sure. I don't have the pot anymore.
Okay. But then you stopped it at some point?
Yeah, it was empty.
Oh, it was empty. Okay. And did you feel worse off of it?
Not really, no.
No. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best thing for COVID, but in terms of what you can get, let's see, you're taking vitamin C and zinc and vitamin D, the basics.
Zinc. I had my vitamin D tested, and it was pretty high.
Okay.
But it was absolutely, it was top. I don't know if it's the same way of what you say in America. It was 145.
145? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're generally looking at between 60 and 100, so it might be different.
It's different, I think, in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I take zinc 30 milligram.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about colloidal silver the other time.
Right.
I did that for 3 weeks, I think. 3-4 weeks. And it's finished now, so I have to get another one. See if I can get it here.
Okay.
You want me to get more to see if I can get it?
The colloidal silver, well, I'm thinking about what might be better for you. That's going to have more of an effect. I think that probably the Takuna might be a better option. I'm thinking about antivirals that you can get access to that are going to be most supportive against the COVID. And I think that it's probably the Takuna, which is one that we often use for other viruses like Epstein-Barr, because I think that COVID has a lot of features like Epstein-Barr, one of them being this long-haul COVID effect that people are talking about, where they get sick and then they feel like they get better and then they relapse. And then it's very hard to get rid of. So I think that it's got a lot of those same features with Epstein-Barr, because a lot of people say, you know, once I had mono or once I had Epstein-Barr virus, I've never been the same. And a lot of people are saying that same thing about COVID. So
I have had Epstein-Barr.
Uh-huh.
So it's, I am thinking that like in 2011, I had something like what I had now that I think may have been COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I did a blood test for it, but it was, if I had it, it was mild, and the test was 3 months afterwards. So it came up negative, but the doctor said, doesn't matter, it's you still can have had it, but with this timeline. But I have had something like that in 2011, but it was not contagious because nobody had it. It was only me, and I have been out of action for at least a month, and
Mm-hmm.
I've never been the same from that.
Okay.
2 years ago, they tested and they said, well, you have had Epstein-Barr, and now we have this, and I am more out of I'm more tired than I have been before that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I think that probably, I mean, I'd love to go after Bartonella as well as COVID or whatever virus this is, but I think that probably the priority right now is the virus. I would go after that first, and then go after Bartonella, because I think that probably the fatigue that you're having is more due to the virus rather than due to the Bartonella. You've got the cramping and you've got some of these other symptoms, thyroid, whatever, but I think that the worst symptoms that you have, or the ones that are most uncomfortable for you, are the viral symptoms. Would you agree?
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, Mickey. Good to see you. So, thank you for that question. Let me see what.
So for that, I take the Takuna.
Take the Takuna. Different than Hakuna. Takuna Matata. What a wonderful herb.
What's the dose on the Takuna?
Yeah, so the Takuna, you start with 1 drop twice a day, increase every day or every other day by 1 drop twice a day, up to
1 drop once a day.
It's in the supplement intro chronology as well, but it's start off with 1 drop twice a day,
Twice a day.
and then increase every other day by 1 drop twice a day, up to 30 drops twice a day. So you can get that in the store. I do want to make sure though that you have detox support on board. So have you done step 3 and opened up your pathways?
Yeah.
What are you taking for that?
Well, the magnesium, mostly, and that's.
I see you've got parsley, berber, panella, ready sorb.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep, that's all great.
So the Takuna and vitamin C.
Yep.
Zinc and vitamin D. Well, just as much sun as I can get, which is still every day, and olive leaf. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with you continuing to take the olive leaf, and then I would say, once you start to make a shift in what we're seeing, you get up to higher doses of the Takuna, and you start to notice a difference in your symptoms, then I would start to add in the Hotunya, which is Houttynia. I think that's how you spell it. And that's for Bartonella, for our folks in the EU.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more before you get there, but just so you know what's coming. Because part of this is, remember, it's a lot of this is addressing a number of things at a time, right? Where we're binding up mold, the heavy metals, chemicals. It's better to do a little bit on a lot of different stuff than it is to go really hard after one thing at a time. Okay? Because there's such a synergy. As you're killing infections, they're releasing other infections, they're releasing other toxins. And so you want to try to bind those things up and kill them while you're kind of moving through this process. Great. And then you said hydrogen peroxide in my detox bath is going well, but I'm still unsure about using it in my nebulizer. Dr. Mertola talks about using 12% food grade. The pharmacy only has 6% for bleaching hair, and Amazon sells 3%. Is the last just diluted to get the price down, or is there something fishy here? My respiratory system is a bit compromised, so I don't want to risk it. I believe that Mercola's protocol is 3%. I think that he talks about buying 12% and diluting it, but I don't think he talks about taking 12%. Yes, Mickey.
He goes to 1%. He goes down from 3% to 1%. He says diluted.
Okay.
Yeah.
He starts off with 12%, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote it down. Yeah.
So I went to, this is the way I do it. Or this, you're supposed to get up to the highest where right before it will burn. So you're right, 1% you can start and then you can go to 2%. Some people can go to 3%. Like my husband can go 3%, no problem. If I go anything more than 1.5%, it burns. So that's why start really, really low and go up incrementally.
But my questions was more about they are selling 3%.
Oh.
And is that diluted to get the price down?
No, it's just food grade. It's just typically what's done
Yeah.
at food grade. Yeah.
That is okay. That is okay to use.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
my lungs. Okay.
No. Well, what we're saying is you can buy the 3%, you just have to dilute it. Like all these, anything you're going to buy, you're going to have to dilute anyway. So whether you want to buy 12% and dilute it, or you want to buy 3% and dilute it, it's okay. But all of those are legitimate. The 3% that you get on Amazon, that's food grade, considered food grade, should still be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because I'm not going to get it from Texas.
Right. From Texas?
Yeah, from Texas. You can get the Garden of Eden. That's the best at 35%. But
Right.
I have been working to get something for 4.5 months from America. I'm not going to do that again.
Smart. I ended up getting 12% off of eBay. I got a couple of 12% bottles. I haven't used them yet, but I got them just in case we needed them so that we could dilute them.
Okay.
No. But thank you for that correction. Yes. 1%, not 3%.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, Margot.
And the stool test?
The GI map. Yeah. So, yeah, I think so at this point. I think it's fine to get the GI map test. The question is that I always ask is, what are we going to do with the test? If we get the test back and it shows that you've got a bunch of bugs that need to be treated, we're going to kind of put that in our back pocket and we're going to kind of proceed with who is causing the most problems right now. And so that's going to be the viruses like we talked about and then Bartonella. So, you know, you don't have to do the GI map now. You could also do it in 3 months from now and we could have that data for what's going to be the next step. But I think if you're looking to check things off your list, there's no problem with doing the GI map right now. Things aren't going to really change between now and when and after we get rid of a couple of these infections. Potentially it can. Let me think about this. Do you have a lot of digestive symptoms?
Not really. I
Okay.
think it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, it has been a lot worse than it is now. So as far as that's concerned, I'm not really in a hurry. The last cure has been very unpleasant, but for now I think it's more or less okay. But maybe it's if it's not in a hurry, we might as well wait for a couple of months.
Yeah, I think that that's fine because, you know, as we remove a number of these toxins, heavy metals, chemicals, molds, infections, the usual suspects off of the immune system, then oftentimes the immune system can turn around and it can get rid of some of the bugs that are in the gut. So I have seen that before. Mainly it's with molds, heavy metals, and chemicals, but I have seen it also with infections.
And how about the metal test? Is that necessary now? Because it's going to be hell to get this DSM from Africa.
Right. Let's see. Well, you're taking the GI Detox Plus and you're taking the liposomal glutathione that are both going to be helpful for that. Have you ever had a heavy metal test before?
No.
Okay. I think it would be great to get it. I mean, because we're not in a rush, and so even if it takes a while, I would still do it. I mean, that's one of those things that we really don't know based off of your symptoms. You know, that's one of the 25% that I really recommend that you get the lab test so that we can actually have that data. Now, you could just take another supplement, like the cilantro, which is, you know, by Nutrimedics, that works very well. And so that is possible if you wanted to, you know, take that supplement for 3 to 6 months, but it's going to be cheaper to find out whether or not you actually have the heavy metals.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Then I'll have it sent to my kids, and they can send it to me.
Where are they?
They're in Holland.
Okay. Is it easier to get from South Africa
And
to
I'm in
Holland?
Spain. No, but to get things through customs here is a pain.
Difícil.
Yeah. It's really unbelievable. The last time it took 2.5 months to get it out of the customs. And because we are going up and down between Holland and for Christmas, but for instance, we'll go to Holland. Yeah. So last time the moment I went, the day after, they delivered the package. And because I was not there, they sent it back to America within a week.
Nice, wonderful, yeah, great.
So I'm not going to do that again.
Smart.
Let them send it to the kids,
yeah.
and they can send it to me.
Smart. Okay, great. Thanks, Margot. Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
And if we see you disappear, we know you're sleeping. Sleep well.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Elizabeth, you are up now that you are well fed.
Oh, yeah. And have my tea here. Life's
Wonderful.
always much better with a cup of tea.
Indeed, indeed. So let's see, your question is, you've noticed a very strange sensation in your feet since you started doing a breath yoga technique. This technique helps to clear the lungs, turn on the parasympathetic nervous system, and oxygenate the blood. After the breath work, we meditate, and this is when I have the sensation. My feet have a burning sensation from the ankles down, like a chili burn just under the skin. My hands also glow, but not to the same extent. In your opinion, could this be a self-infection starting to show its head? It definitely could. If so, which one, given the sensation is so strong? Should I treat this before molds? Currently, molds, although present, are not causing symptoms unless I go into a moldy environment, something I avoid. So you have to remember that, so those symptoms can be due to Bartonella, burning in the periphery, so whether it's the hands or the feet, and really a lot of different symptoms. So some people will have joint pain in the hands and the feet and the toes. Some people have burning on the bottom of the feet, or burning in the like a chili burn, like you're saying. So that might be part of it. But the other thing is that oftentimes molds can look like Bartonella. So especially if you're doing some breath work, and you could be releasing some of the mold that's in your lungs. So I'm not sure which one it is. So I would treat both of them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, and part of it is that mold's not that hard to treat. We're binding it, we're pulling it out, and we can talk about what you would use. And I would do that first and make sure that you've got a couple things on board first for the mold. See whether or not you respond to that over a month or two, and then I would look at adding in things for Bartonella.
Okay.
So what are you, let me actually, I can see what you're currently taking. So let's see. So you're not taking anything right now for mold, no binders.
I am taking binders. I'm taking Pectosol C, which agreed with me.
Great.
So I've been taking that for a while. I've got Detox 2 here, but when I was quietly going down with energy and things, I stopped taking Detox 1 and Detox 2 just in case it was them, but I kept going down. So it wasn't, right. But I figured until I started coming back up, no point taking those.
Gotcha.
They'd only depress me further.
Smart. And then what about, can you tolerate glutathione?
I've never tried glutathione.
That would be a good one to try. Do you have any problems with sulfur?
I eat so many onions and garlic and leeks. I cannot have a problem with sulfur.
Even if you did, you would just ignore it, right?
Yeah. I'm sure it would show up in the amount of garlic and onions that I eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would be a great 1-2 combination, taking a binder plus the glutathione. I think it
Okay.
would be great to see if you can add in the detox 2 in addition to the pectosol. I do believe that what's in the detox 2 is superior to the pectosol, but if there's only one binder that you can tolerate, then that's the one we'll take. But it'll be great to see whether you can tolerate the detox 2, if you can tolerate the detox 1.
There's no problem with tolerating either of those. I only stopped them because my energy levels were kept going down.
Right. Well, what I'm thinking is that now you're doing better.
Yeah.
Add them in, one
Brilliant.
of them every week and just test and see it, that you are tolerating it all right. That it's not going to
Brilliant.
bring you down.
No.
And then in terms of the glutathione that I recommend, I would probably recommend the ReadySorb. And I believe your contact can get you pretty much anything that we get here in the States, right?
Either the same or something very similar.
Okay.
So he can't get adrenal live PX, but he can get adrenal live and those sorts of things. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So see if you can get, a really pure liposomal glutathione. And I would start, and so the product that I like is called ReadySorb, ReadiSorb. And I would start off with like 1/4 teaspoon every day and see if you can work your way up to a teaspoon.
Brilliant.
And I would do that for a couple of months. And then if you're still having the symptoms, then I would add in Abart.
If I can't get Abart, because it was a real trial getting the detox 1 and 2 in.
Gotcha.
What herb? I found a local source making high quality herbal tinctures.
Nice. So the Hotunia is the other one that I like to use.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You might have to spell that again.
Yes, HOUTTY. Oh yeah, let me put it in here. HOUTTYNIA. Yeah, I think that's Hotunia.
Brilliant.
Thanks for reminding me, Mickey. Mickey wrote me a message and said that I should be writing in the chat box more, so that kind of helps move things along so you guys can see it and I don't have to spell everything out. Thank you for that.
Brilliant.
So yes, so Hotunia, and I've got the ramp up on that in the supplement intro chronology and in the workbook. So yeah, so that can be a really good one. See if you can you can have it made it locally, or I know that I believe Nutramedics has an Anzac branch.
Which means we should be able to get it here.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Thanks very much for all of that.
You're very welcome. And what's the pranayam that you're doing?
It's Kriya.
Oh, wow. You're doing Kriya.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's great.
That's heavy duty. Yeah, I've been thinking about, I'm trained in I'm a yoga teacher training, and part of my training was a lot of pranayam. And I actually, when I taught yoga, I would incorporate it quite a bit. And so I've been thinking about how to do it. So one of the things I'd like to do on my podcast is I want to have one of my teachers on to talk about some of the breath work that we could do that would be really good for fatigue, because I haven't done it for years. But one of my favorite ones that I still do on occasion, not every day, is like Agni Sara. So it's still doing, it's doing the pumps, it's doing the locks, which that Kriya is a big part of that. For those of you who aren't familiar with Kriya, it's what Paramahansa Yogananda recommends in like Autobiography of a Yogi. It's a way to take you to the next plane, right?
You'll probably know a lot more than I do. I'm only like 2 months in this.
And are you doing it as part of the nutrition program or the coaching program, or neither?
It's a separate one that was recommended with the brain retraining as a way to help train the parasympathetic nervous system to switch on.
Wonderful. Kriya is one of those that I didn't think you were supposed to start with. I thought it was kind of a more advanced technique. I thought there were some other basic ones like Kapalabhati or some of these other ones that you're supposed to do first, but I could be wrong.
This is Sudarshan Kriya. So I don't know if it's different from the other forms of Kriya.
Okay, interesting. And Kriya is spelled Krya, right? K-O-I-Y-A, yeah, Kriya, yeah. Awesome, thank you. Well, thanks for the reminder. That's great.
Where can we find out more information about that? I don't know anything about that. Is this like Wim Hof breathing method? Is that something?
It could be similar. I purchased that program, but I haven't done anything with it yet. But breath work from yoga is called pranayama. And so you can Google like pranayama for a number of different things, and you can find people who are talking about different forms of breath work. But it's really powerful. I remember when I went through my training, they said if you do this technique every single day for the rest of your life, you'll have everything you've ever wanted. You'll never be sick, blah, blah, whatever. That's what they kind of believed. But by doing a number of locks where you're kind of like, you're holding the breath for extended periods of time and you're pumping your stomach, it's like exercising your internal organs. So it's pretty interesting stuff. AOL.org has a lot of information. Great. So yeah, we can check that out. But yeah, I've been meaning to start to incorporate more of that.
I see another video for the course.
That's right. Pranayam coming at you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, Dr. Evan.
You're very welcome. All right, Lynn, you're up next. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
So you said, I tried the xylitol nasal spray, the clear, on September 13th, sprayed it in left nostril morning and night. At the start, very low, go slow. Wonderful. I thought the left nostril felt a bit less congested than the right the very first day. I was hopeful that I might not have a reaction like I did to Detox 2, Detox 1, Toxie's Bind, because it didn't involve swallowing anything. However, my reaction after just that first day was even more severe. Insomnia, much worse. Thicker brain fog, inflammation, and aching, fatigue. My question is, what does this episode tell us? What can I learn from it? So xylitol is a biofilm disruptor. So it's breaking up the hiding places of bugs. And so that means that you got a whole bunch of bugs in your sinuses. And so the sinus infection section is going to be important for you. But once again, we're going to want to start low and go slow. Have you recovered from that episode?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
So it took a few days.
Okay, because oftentimes whenever we're using biofilm disruptors, as we've talked about previously, I like to do those after we've already cleaned up kind of what's floating around normally. Because if you think about it, if you've got a load of 10,000 bugs, let's say, that's kind of floating around, you want to kill what's present before you break up their hiding places and you let another 10,000 out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would say put the clear on hold, xylitol and any sort of biofilm disruptor, and I would proceed to the sinus infection section, and I would look at doing, you're okay with like Neilmed or Neti-Pot?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would look at adding like biocidin. I'm trying to think of what antimicrobial you might have at home that you've gone through already or that you've been using.
I don't have that.
Haven't done anything yet?
No.
Okay.
I'm still really working on step 3.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So then in terms of, let me pull up the wake book. So in terms of, let's see, sinus infections. I think it's the biocidin is the first one that I recommend. Come on. There we go. So doing the Neilmed, and then I talk about the LDI. Are you doing any LDI yet?
I've been getting allergy shots for a couple of years,
Okay.
but not yet with Fix Your Fatigue.
Okay. So that's something that we can consider. You know, if you're having a lot of sinus congestion, that can oftentimes be due to a food or an inhalant.
Mm-hmm.
And the allergy shots sometimes are as good as the LDI and sometimes not. It really just depends on what they're putting in the allergy shot. They're probably not putting any foods in there.
No.
It's probably just inhalants, and it's probably just a few inhalants. It may not be everything that you're sensitive to. So the LDI is nice because it's kind of everything that you could possibly be sensitive to and resetting the immune system's reaction to those things.
Okay. I'm open to changing over. I feel like I've given the allergy shots a pretty fair test now.
And have they been helpful?
I think, yes.
Okay. What sort of
not decisively so.
Okay. And what sort of what have you noticed in terms of foods and inhaled reactions?
Foods, when I completely cut out grains and sugars, fruit, it was like all of a sudden I could breathe better.
Okay, great. Yeah, so then you know foods are associated with your sinuses, and so the question is whether there's still some congestion in there from foods. But I think the biofilm disruptor, taking that xylitol nasal spray, is indicating that there's infections as well.
Okay.
So I would say putting some drops in there of, let's see. So the first thing that I generally recommend, because we know there was a landmark study that was done by the Mayo Clinic in the early 2000s that showed that 30% of all chronic sinus conditions were fungal. And so one of the things oftentimes that I like to use is an antifungal tincture put into the Neti-Pot. But I think because of the sensitivities that we're seeing, I'm not so inclined to use afung, which is the normal thing that I use because it's very potent. And so I think I would prefer to go with the biocidin, which is spelled BIOCIDIN. And I would have you do, 1 drop twice per day in Neti-Pot. Obviously I would have you start off with just 1 drop on 1 day, right? And then increase, I would say, every other day by 1 drop twice a day up to, 10 drops twice per day in the Neti-Pot. So I typed that in the chat as well, make it easy on you. So does that make sense? Because the biocidin is a really nice broad spectrum antimicrobial. So it's going to get a number of different things. Sometimes it's It's gram-positive staph organisms that are in the nose. There's something called Marcons, which we don't test for anymore because the test isn't great. But those are bacteria. Sometimes it's fungus that's in the nose. So this is really nice broad spectrum. And we just have to find the dose that's going to be supportive for you. Obviously, if you take too much, you may have some die-off. So just slow and low, that is the tempo.
Okay, should I wait until we figure out what's going on with step 3 before I do any of that?
It's a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah. Are we going to talk about that in the next part of the question?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, number 2, I'm feeling discouraged. Oh, I'm sorry. The last 5 things I've tried have all made me feel noticeably worse. Detox 2, Detox 1, Detox 1 topically, Toxies, Bind, and Clear. It's taken me 2 months to try them one at a time, determine that it was causing me to feel worse, and then recover and stabilize before trying the next one. I started each one of them with a feeling of optimism that it would move me closer to healing, but to be honest, now I'm kind of dreading taking another step. I get that. I have Toxies GL on hand now, but I'm wondering if I might be better to try Parsley next, hoping to finally be successful, taking a tiny step forward. Your thoughts, any idea what could be causing me to have so many problems with the supplements? It's a great question. So I do agree with going to single agents at this point. So, a tincture that's going to have just one thing in it,
Like the parsley?
like the parsley.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I think that your reactions, are probably for different reasons. And from what I remember, you you weren't especially sensitive when you started the program. I don't remember you saying that you had a lot of problems with supplements.
I didn't
Yeah.
until I got to the B12.
Interesting. Yeah. So a lot of this has to do with the detoxification pathways. B12 is going to increase detoxification down different pathways. The detox 2 is going to bind. The detox 1 is going to increase detoxification. The binders are going to bind. So it seems to me, since that's the case, that it really is about your detoxification and it's about the number of toxins that are floating around. Like we talked about with the binder, if you're binding and you can't get it out of the body, then you're going to feel worse. If we're trying to move things through the system and we're not having success because there are different clogs through the system, then we have to pivot a little bit, and sometimes we have to go for different aspects of the system, detoxification system. Like for example, instead of going after liver and kidney, sometimes we have to go after lymph first. So sometimes people who can't tolerate detox 1 can tolerate BT detox.
Oh.
Because BT detox will go after lymph. So my wife is one of those people. Like she can tolerate like 1 drop of detox 1, but she can do like 5 drops of BT. And for her also, well, that would be a good thing to do too. And for others who have this sort of issue, sometimes the sarsaparilla is really the best way to go for opening up step 3, which is the main ingredient in Detox 1, but it's got a bunch of other things too. Now, sarsaparilla is a blood cleanser, so it works in a little bit of a different way, where it's kind of like cleaning up crap that's floating around as opposed to like pushing pathways. So as I'm thinking about this, I think that, do you have BT detox?
I think I do.
I think you might have, yeah. So that would be one that I would look at doing, and you could just do 1 drop topically on your hand every couple days and see how you do. And then the sarsaparilla. So those would be the 2 that I would look at next. And I know that it's frustrating, but once you get this, it's going to make a world of difference, because then you're going to actually be able to proceed to
Yes.
step forward. Step 4, yeah.
I can't wait.
I know, right? That's the hardest part of this, is those steps back.
Yes.
And
Yes.
to remain that optimism. And so that's kind of where the mindset comes into play. Like, when you're noticing, oh gosh, when is this ever going to get done? Or why can't I get through the step? You have to flip it on its head, and you have to say, okay, this is just education. This is just teaching me something. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
I want to graduate.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. And when you do, it's going to feel so good.
Yes, I think so.
Absolutely. Yes. And you'll get there. You know, there's always there's reasons for everything, and everybody's an individual, and oftentimes we don't know why certain things happen, you know? And so it's just about finding that right tool, that right supplement, that right herb that can do what we want it to do to move you to the next step.
So, so we talked about the BT detox as worth trying.
Correct.
And sarsaparilla, is that, do you have the dosage for that? You told me the BT detox.
Oh, I did. Okay. So yeah, so the BT and then the sarsaparilla is 1 capsule, I would say 2 times per day. And I put that in the chat too. And that can be, you know, and then as needed, you know, as long as you're tolerating that, I would say, you know, say as long as tolerating, then increase up to 2 capsules twice a day, and as needed for die off, up to, gosh, sometimes it's like 8 capsules 3 to 4 times a day. So it's one of those things that can really be your best friend to enable you to kill infections.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Elizabeth is talking about doing the 3-step dance, right? So wanting to get to step 4 too, right? And then Margot said, so if you know what you're allergic to, you can find out which food you better avoid. Right, yes. The challenge with that is that, you know, the best test for that really is the elimination diet and the oral food challenge test. So eliminating a food for 3 weeks and then adding it back in, you know, you have a cheese party, though, you know, sometimes you'll react to different cheeses differently, but you have a cheese party and you see how you react after you've been off of it for 21 days. You know, right now we're kind of doing this a little bit with my 12-year-old. She's got a bunch of acne. And so she's like, she's finally asked for help. You know, she's like, I don't want to take any pills. I don't want to do anything, Dad. I was like, oh, come on, let me just give you some stuff. But anyway, she's starting to take things, but we had been without eggs for a while, and Stacy just made her something with eggs, and then boom, she like breaks out all over the place. But for her, it's like sugar, chocolate, now eggs, and so unfortunately, she's got like my gut or her mom's gut. So we're fixing that, but that is like the best way to test for it. All right, great. And then question number 3 you had was opening up gastrointestinal tract. Magnesium citramate seems to be doing its job. Great. Then when I did not tolerate either detox 2 or toxes bind very well, we moved on to opening up liver and kidney. Do I need to go back to opening up the gastrointestinal tract at some point? It seems like that's an important step. Is it okay to skip it? Is there a different supplement to try? So as long as you're having a bowel movement, ideally twice a day, once a day I'll take it if it's a good one, then you've opened up the gut.
Okay. What about the okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if the citramate is working and you're having bowel movements every day, yeah, then you're good to go on the gut. There are things that if you're talking about like, what's that?
I said, woohoo!
Yeah, so you're good to go on opening up the gut. Now, obviously, there's a reason why you were constipated and why you needed the citramate. And so that's bugs in the gut, that's digestive system getting shut down by digestion and toxins and stuff like that too. So as we remove those things, it should improve. And at some point, you might have to do some additional work on the gut to kill if there's other infections in the gut. And then once you get rid of the infections, then it's about healing up the gut. You know, a lot of people talk about in functional medicine a 4-step or a 5-step process. Well, that's all great, but until you kill the infection, it's kind of a waste of money to be taking things that are quote unquote healing the gut while there's an infection that's damaging the gut. So, that's kind of how we layer it, is that once we remove that infection, then you can actually do some of that healing.
That makes sense.
Great. I try to make sense.
You do.
Awesome. Anything else, Lynn?
Not right now, thank you.
All right. You're very welcome. Thanks for your questions.
You're welcome.
All right. Candace, you are up next. So Candace says, I have high anxiety, lemon balm, L-theanine, valerian don't work. Yes, this is based off of the conversation we were having in the group. Thus is probably due to mold, very possibly. I also have bladder irritation when I have to go, and bladder feels very uncomfortable, probably mold related also. Also have severe depression, night sweats, is that babesia, which I did test for on DNA connections and IGeneX. What can I do for relief? I just started the protocol with 1 drop the adrenal para NS every other day. Can I do any other topical to start to deal with the mold or babesia? I need relief. Thank you. Yeah, so I think, if I remember correctly, let me just check something. Yeah, based off of our conversations, I do think that babesia is a big part of the issue for you. And that last time we talked about, I think initially I was very excited about you starting some ABAB, but then I pivoted and then I said, let's do the adrenal first and get you a little bit more support.
Byron White formulas are like no.
Right. But you did talk about that you never had tried any of the antimicrobials, I think. You hadn't tried anything topically.
Right.
Yeah. So the question is what to take next that could potentially move you in a direction of taking that ABAB and having success with it. So
I've got PTSD about Byron White, really. Serious.
Okay, well we can use other things. Not a problem at all. I've seen, yeah, that's totally fine. I definitely don't want to put you into any PTSD. I just know that the amazing success that I've had with the ABAB, that sometimes I don't get with other companies. But if you don't think it's going to work, it's not going to work. Research has shown that. Research has shown that if the doctor thinks it's going to work, it's like 30% more likely to work. And if the patient or the client thinks it's going to work, then it's like 30% more likely to work. So you can increase that, how likely something is to work, by 60% just by believing. And if you don't believe it's going to work, oftentimes it's not.
Well, I'm using the Byron White adrenal 1 drop every other day, and that's okay.
Yeah, see?
Topically.
So Byron White he can be your friend, Byron White.
Yeah, topically.
Yeah,
1
topically
drop
is
every
fine.
other day.
That's fine. That's fine. Are you noticing anything yet from it?
Maybe more anxiety.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. So answer me this. Have you taken the Detox 1 by Byron White?
I think so. Is that the one that has a really strong smell to it?
Gosh, I'm so used to him. I don't remember. I don't think so.
I've got 11 different Byron White things here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
just because, well, yeah, my doctor and he collaborated to make them, and also he lives here. You know, his lab or whatever is here, right here.
Right.
Well.
Yeah. So I think that ramping up on the Detox 1 would be a good idea, or at least starting off with, I would say take the Detox 1. I'm typing this in the chat. Detox 1 drop, topically applied to hands every other morning. So just like the adrenal para NS, you're doing that in the mornings, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I would do the opposite day. I would do the Detox 1. Just
Okay.
1 drop. And as long as you can tolerate that, then we can start to ramp up on that, with the goal being to get up to 5 drops or so on the hand. And then we'll be able to, I'll say, as long as you can tolerate this, then ramp up, by 1 drop topically per week, up to 5 drops topically. Then we'll start 1 drop topically of ABAB.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to pull out that BTT detox and see, because one of the ones that I have is so strong that even when the bottle is closed, I can't tolerate to have it. Like, I have to put that bottle inside another closed glass bottle so I don't smell it.
Okay,
I'm so
yeah.
sensitive to the fragrance of it.
Okay,
Like,
yes.
I can't use essential oils in my house or anything like that.
Okay. So yeah, so let me know which one that is, and then I can guide you appropriately.
Okay. And that's going to help with my bladder and my extreme anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Babesia will cause awful sleep problems. It'll cause depression to the point of suicidal thoughts,
Yes.
anxiety to the point of panic,
Yes.
night sweats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like all the, I mean, you're like screaming Babesia.
Yeah, well, I did test positive to it.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do. It's very hard to test positive for as well.
Yeah,
So
I was told that. Yeah, they only test 2 strains, and I did hit on one of them. I think it was my or whatever.
micrody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Babesia will also make everything else worse, like 3 times worse.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why I think that that's the most important direction to take right now.
It'll make
Yes.
mold worse, and
Yeah. I mean, it's mainly the infections that it'll make worse, but yeah, it'll make everything worse. And so I think that that's a better direction right now to go than addressing mold more aggressively, because I think it's the biggest bang for the buck, where you get that drop topically on board, and we can start to see some real shifts happening.
okay.
Yeah, just keep in touch. Let us know how you're doing and how you're doing with that detox one.
Okay.
Yeah. And so so I put that stuff in the chat, and then you can also watch the replay if you weren't able to get everything.
Okay.
Okay. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Candace. Thanks for your question. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And hey, Gary, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. All right, so Nancy, you are next. Let's go ahead and unmute you. I can only ask to unmute you. You have to unmute yourself, it looks like. So you said, in addition to taking Adrenal PX, 3 capsules 3 times a day, you take the cortisol 1 in the morning and 3 at night. Can too much cortisol depress motivation and the dose need to be cut back? Not typically. Have you seen that?
Yes,
You have.
but I don't know what the source is. So I'm trying to rule out that it would be something that I just recently started taking.
Gotcha. Well, you can always, if you are curious about something, you just stop it for 4 to 7 days. Yeah, no problem there. And then you can generally just go back to, with the cortisol, you don't have to ramp up on it. You can just go back to where you were. The 1 in the morning, 3 at night.
I stopped taking the 1 in the morning, thinking maybe it would ease that. Still taking the ones at night because I really need them.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
I didn't notice any difference, so hence the question.
Okay, so you already did that.
I tried, yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't know if that would have been enough to back off to see if that was the issue. But I'm thinking now it's not. It's something else.
Probably. And can you be a little bit more specific about the, is it just, you said depressed motivation?
It's a motivation. It's, well, slower thinking. Just the whole system seems to be down a bit.
Okay.
But I
Well,
haven't really gotten into this enough to be able to put the pieces together.
okay. Sometimes that can happen because as we boost the adrenal function, cortisol is responsible for managing a whole bunch of different activities in the body, including the immune system, including insulin. And so sometimes it'll start moving things, like if we're boosting cortisol and that in turn is improving the immune system function, and you've got infections that are in your body or molds, and the immune system starts going after them more, you can potentially have worsening symptoms. So that might be part of what's going on. But let's keep going through here and I'll see what else I can see. You said, since I'm substituting thyroid support complex for the MedCaps T3, do I start the thyroid 65 after 2 weeks? So once you get up to the thyroid support complex, 2 capsules in the morning, then you would start the thyroid 65 2 weeks after that, as long as you still had low thyroid symptoms.
Which the ramp up is supposed to tell me is supposed to be the indicator, right? So I just keep on until I can't do it anymore.
You're talking about the thyroid support
The
complex?
thyroid the ramping up of the thyroid. Is that
Right.
okay?
So there's, well, yeah, and there's the mini ramp up, which is like the thyroid support complex. You go from 1 capsule to 2 capsules.
Oh, okay, okay.
But then the thyroid 65, I think, is what you're referring to, which is the major ramp up where you're increasing every 2 weeks by a capsule.
Okay. I just didn't know, because I was substituting because I couldn't start out with the T3, if I was supposed to then continue following the instructions as though if it was like just a substitution and just go down step
Yes.
2, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a direct substitution. And in
Okay.
fact, in version 2.5, which I might as well just release this coming up here in a couple days, is going to have the thyroid support complex as the main one with the MedCaps T3 as the alternate, because it's been out of stock for so long.
And they basically told me they had no idea when and if they could continue to get it.
Right. Yeah. So the thyroid 65 or thyroid support complex is a great product. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the thyroid work better and the cells to be more sensitive to thyroid. So oftentimes, like I've had low thyroid in the past. I can't even take the thyroid support complex because it's too stimulating for me, because my thyroid is just like a smidge low right now. I can't even take ashwagandha because it's too stimulating for me. And that's what happens when your thyroid gets fixed. I used to have to take like a whole bunch of thyroid, and then I treated my Bartonella, and then I didn't have to take any more now. But the only low thyroid symptom that I have is that I run a little bit cold. But the long story short, the thyroid support complex is going to make the thyroid work better. And we do that first because we want to make what you have work better first before we add in
Okay.
some outside thyroid, which is the thyroid 65. And then you ramp it up and you see what gets rid of your symptoms and then what's too much. And you figure out that Goldilocks dose.
Your temperature ran cold? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's the only thing I got left on my thyroid symptoms.
How much colder?
Well, no, it didn't get colder. I was like freezing, and now I'm just like a little bit cold, but I'm colder than my wife is.
Oh, so you're not taking your temperature?
I'm not. That would be an interesting test to see where I'm at. I think generally I'm around like 98.
Do a test and report back to us.
Okay. Are you thinking that I should do the first morning?
Yeah, the Barnes test, the way that
yeah.
BARDA, whatever it is.
Right. That's not the rectal one, right?
No, it's a
okay.
No.
Good.
We should all do that. Let's do all that as a
teasing.
group and see who's
Right.
thyroid's okay.
Yeah, but
All right?
it's supposed to be like it's supposed to do the armpit one, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we have to get specific thermometers. We can't just use like a regular temporal.
I did. You know, I just wrote it down because I'm cold too, so that's why I'm interested. I don't have a thyroid gland, but I'm wondering if I could take some of this thyroid support anyway. Could I?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, that thyroid support complex is wonderful for optimizing thyroid. Yeah, if you've got just a little bit. Um, what
Can
you
we
got
all
there?
do that? Let's really seriously, let's all do that. Take our temperature, and then we'll know.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's good. That's a great way of telling whether or not you've got low thyroid if you're not sure. Most people, I see you, Candace. Great, BT detox. You don't have the detox one though? Oh, that one smells awful. Okay. So I'll come back to you in just a second. But yeah, I think that's a I think that's a good idea. We should all take our temperature. Yeah. So what is it? It's every morning for 2 weeks. Is that right? Before you get out of bed?
Yeah, and then you average it out.
Then you average it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
done it in a while, but I'm gonna do it again. That's
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
Yeah. That'll be fun to do. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, so then Candace coming back to you, and then Margot, I'll come to you. So what I'm, yeah, I see that you've got your supplement graveyard. Um, but you don't have any detox one there. Okay. Oh, I can't hear you. Hold on a second. Let me unmute you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have A-Inflam, AHP, ABAB,
Oh, you have ABAB. Good.
ABART, AP, and BT detox.
Okay. But you can't stand that BT detox.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be, I'm not reacting to the smell as strong as I was before, so.
Yeah, you could potentially try the BT detox first, just one drop, but I still think that doing the detox one is going to be better for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. BT detox is opening up lymph, and the detox one is opening up liver and kidneys.
Say that again.
So BT, I'll write it down in the chat box. So BT detox opens up lymph, and detox one opens up liver and kidney. Okay.
I do have some liver kidney stuff by Cellcore.
Can you tolerate it?
I haven't tried it.
You can always try that. So you just have to be very clear that that's the only thing that you're introducing, and that you start low and you go slow, because it is a capsule. So part of what we wanted to do with you was to try going topically.
All right. Okay. I'll just order up the
Yeah, the detox one.
detox one.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, Nancy. We're coming back to you.
Okay.
So let's see, thyroid support complex. After I complete the big three deficiencies, can I have been working on the neurotransmitter deficiencies prior to beginning any detox treatments? Absolutely. So the neurotransmitter thing is more about urgency and need. So it's a band-aid, but it can be very helpful if your anxiety and your depression is bad. Oh, sorry, Margot, I forgot about you. I'll come back to you in a minute. If your anxiety and depression, if your mood is bad and you really need a boost in order to get through the rest of the program, you can always start taking those products.
While I'm doing the big three, I can just
Absolutely.
add
Yeah.
that in. That's why I brought it up. So I was looking for something to help me feel better, to kind of.
Yep. The serotonin is probably what you're looking at.
It was the serotonin and the pharma GABA.
Yep. Yeah, those can be
I
really
think
helpful.
I need both.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I can take them together just as
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and like everything in this program, you're just layering them on, right? You're staying on everything, you're just adding in the next thing. Because everything's fixing a problem, and they all got to be fixed.
So don't wait for the thyroid to normalize itself. Just keep doing the thyroid and add in the neurotransmitter.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, because if you're increasing the thyroid every 2 weeks, um, yeah, I would optimize the thyroid first because it's that important. So I would
Oh,
get up to,
darn.
I know, I would get up to the full dose of thyroid first. But the thing is that you optimize your thyroid, and that's gonna, most of the
Right.
time, that's gonna fix your mood. So you're not even gonna need the other ones. Like it helps with depression, it helps with anxiety, it helps with energy, it helps with cholesterol. You know, the number one best cholesterol medication out there is thyroid.
So I'm already doing 2 of the thyroid support capsules in the morning.
Great.
Now it says over a week, at sometime over the next couple of days, I'll add a 3rd one, according to the instructions here.
In the workbook,
Yes.
you only need to do 2 of the thyroid support.
It says ramp up to 3 caps over a week.
Yeah, that's a typo. Let me make sure that.
Oh, I'm glad I.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, I fixed it in the next one.
Okay.
I don't know where I got that information, but I remember adding that and then
Oh
figuring
my. Okay.
I put it in incorrectly. So yeah, so
So
just 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
And do that for until I start the thyroid 65.
Yeah, just yeah, 4 days after that, 7 days after that, then start the thyroid 65.
Okay. And then maybe I can start the other.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and I will make that more clear. I'll say 1 week after being on full dose of thyroid support complex, then start the thyroid 65. So that'll help speed things up a little bit. You really don't need 2 weeks on that. I'm just being conservative.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 week should be fine. Great. And let's see what other questions you had. Question 4, only if time am I supposed to be taking Body Bio PC along with the ATP 360? So you're not. So that's one place where you can save money and save time.
Okay.
Yeah, it said in the video, it says start. In the workbook, it says consider. So remember that the workbook always trumps the videos.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just, at some point, I'm going to need to go back and redo all the videos. But at this point, just remember that the workbook is the living document.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good to see you. Karen Barron. Welcome, welcome. Karen's our expert meditator. She comes every week to join us for meditation on Saturday mornings, Stacy's meditation. And then afterwards, if you guys want, you can see my kittens. We're fostering kittens. We just got 3 more because the other half of the litter, their caretaker went out of town, and she said, "Can you take care of our 3?" And so we said, "Yes, of course." And she's like, and this one's got, but ours are all like eating. They're like 5.5 weeks. They're like eating wet food and they're thriving. And she brings over these kittens, and the first night, which was last night, we thought one of them was gonna die. And she's telling it, like, they all have eating problems. All of their guts are not doing well. And I think a large part of it is because she's given them formula, which is not natural. And I looked at the food that she was giving them, and it all had gluten in it. So I switched them to what we're giving, which is goat milk, which is the closest thing to breast milk and cat breast milk, and switched them over to gluten-free wet food. And now they're all thriving, just like in 24 hours. So, and she had said, she's like, this cat is really sensitive and she sneezes constantly and she's like, she vomits all the time, and like, we haven't had any of those problems. So I'm hesitant to tell her because I don't want her to tell the shelter, because they might not, if they find out we're giving goat's milk instead of the formula that they want us to do, they might not let us foster again. So we have to be very careful. But it's been very interesting I was like contacting these vets that they allow us to do on call, and they're like, oh, constipation happens all the time. It's really common in these bottle-fed cats. And I'm like, it's because the formula. I didn't realize that I wasn't talking to a holistic vet. So Anyway, that's been an interesting side note. But thank you for joining us for the meditations, Karen. Yeah, sorry, Elizabeth.
Go
They're
ahead.
like 4
I
a.m.
only
for you.
have to check up on the kitties
Yes, yes.
and the bunny.
And the bunny. That's right. So your question was under the sensitive to supplements on the web page, where do I find the supplement intro chronology list? So so in the workbook, in the introduction to step 2, so I can share my screen if that would be helpful. But the section that says, like if you go to the table of contents, here let me just do that and I'll share my screen with you. Okay, so here is the workbook that you have right now. So if you go down to step 2, create your plan, and you click on that, at the bottom of this, you'll see it says supplement introduction chronology, and that'll
Oh,
just open up a Google Sheet.
so that's on the website.
This is in the workbook.
Oh,
It's in the course, if that's what you're talking about.
oh, so I still have to go online to get the workbook. Just click on that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Though I can probably, I can just put this into the, can I do that? No, I can't. Let me just see. Maybe I can share it. And yeah, so I'll just copy that link and then I'll put it here into the chat box. And so you can have access to it. Or I can give you the latest and greatest, the version 2.5. It's not complete yet, but if you wanted the latest and greatest, I could give you that one instead.
Okay.
You want that one?
Either.
Okay. I'll give you this one. And you guys will all be getting this soon. You're welcome to start using it now as well. Let's see if I can go to the chat. There's the chat. And I'll put that here so you guys can access that. Okay. So that was your first question. So let me stop that share. That makes sense?
Yes. I kept looking for it. I just couldn't figure out where it was.
No worries. And then you said, where do I find the Fix Your Fatigue Gut section in the workbook or web page? Just received the Mega Mucosa, Mega IgG 2000. How do I take these? Should I be taking a probiotic? So you have to, the workbook is very searchable. So here's a wonderful thing that you can learn. Whether you're in a web page or whether you're in a Word document or whether you're in a PDF, you can do Control F for find. On a Mac, it's Command F. And you can search for words in a document. I tell you, it saves you so much time. So you could type in mega, and you'd find everything that says mega, or you can type in mega IgG 2000 and you would find it in there, and you'd find the exact directions that you needed in order to be able to take it. Not on an iPad, Candace says. Huh. Yeah, I wonder what it would be. I wonder if there's a way to do find on an iPad. I think you can do search in page or find in page, at least if you're in a browser. But yeah, I'm not an iPad person, so I wouldn't know. But I would imagine there's probably a way of doing it. But I can tell you what it would be, because I'm actually going to go in and click Command F and type in the Mega IgG. So in terms of the, so you can find it under Remove Intestinal Infections, which is around page 63. So then in terms of the Mega Mucosa, that's just a scoop a day with or without food. The Mega IgG is 2 capsules twice a day. And all of these things you're going to want to start, I'll type them in the chat too. All these things you're obviously going to want to start start low and go slow.
Do you take them at the same time, or just start one for a week and then add the next?
Exactly. Well, yeah, well, I would start one for a week and then I would ramp up on that one product until you get to full dose, and then I would add in the next product. If you find that, you're fine on one capsule, but 2 capsules makes you feel worse, then you just stay on 1 capsule and then you add in the next one. So it might be the kind of thing where you're just taking a little bit of each of them.
And that's for gut lining?
It's for a number of things. So the mega mucosa is going to be for healing the lining of the gut. The mega IgG is giving you immunoglobulin in the gut. So 80% of the immune system is in the gut, which is why anything that you throw down your mouth, why we have such a hard time with these food allergies and why we have skin rashes and stuff, is because of hyperactivity of the immune system in the gut. So if we can hit the reset button on the gut and take it back to, I mean, for a lot of us, it's before we were born, but trying to clean it up as much as possible, it's putting good bugs in the gut, because we know that in actuality, here in this human form, we are 90% bug cells and 10% human cells, right? Just kind of blows your mind. Right? So it's really important to have good bugs. And so we use things like the Mega Pre, which is the only prebiotic that's clinically shown to only feed good bugs. And we take things like the Megaspore probiotic, which is a spore-based probiotic that really adheres nicely to the gut lining that repopulates the good bugs. And then we take something like the Mega IgG 2000, which is really, that's so funny. I saw Margot yawning and then she disappeared. She must have been tired. And then the Mega IgG 2000 is the immune system, the immunoglobulins, where it's going to bind up the infections. And then it's also going to replace the hyperactive immune system to make for a happier gut. And so that's kind of what we're thinking about with you, where we're trying a number of things, and it seems like the gut is where it's at. We just have to figure out a way to gently do a little bit more healing, and we can't be as, like, normally, like I talked before, we like to get rid of the infections first and then heal the gut. Well, if you can't tolerate getting rid of the infection first, then you've got to creep into it. Okay, by trying to reset things best we can until you're strong enough for us to actually go after the infection.
Okay. And so is the Mega IG 2000, is that considered a probiotic, or is that just something that's just helping?
It's not. Yeah, it's like taking immune system stuff. So if you think about, when you get a cold, your immune system kind of gets up and starts fighting. You kind of have this image of like your soldiers going to war, and this is essentially what you're taking with the Mega IgG 2000. Bless you, Karen.
So do I eventually need to take a probiotic, or not, or I don't need to?
That's a good question. So I think that there must have been a reason why we decided not to give you a probiotic. And I think that maybe it was because you couldn't tolerate previous probiotics, or you couldn't tolerate the
No,
Megaspore.
I actually took them before, and I guess when I ran out of them, I quit taking them. I thought I would just take a break, but it really didn't. It didn't fix my skin problem, but I guess I've just noticed that it's kind of gone, my skin hasn't gotten better since I quit taking them. So
Yeah, it's only one.
It may have helped.
Okay, well, if you can tolerate it, I would definitely recommend that you take it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the Megaspore probiotic. Starting off at like 1 capsule per day and increasing up to 1 capsule twice a day in 4 to 7 days. So I just typed that in. And that's kind of how you want to do it. You want to make a change every 4 to 7 days and get up to full dose on each one of those. And if you can't get up to full dose, take as much as you can without feeling worse.
Okay.
Like the mega mucosa, I would start off with like a half a scoop a day.
Okay.
Yeah. So be as scientific as you can where you're adding in one thing every 4 to 7 days so that you can see what you're reacting to if you do react.
Yeah, it did say on here if you're, it says bovine based, do not consume if you have a beef allergy. I can't say I eat a lot of beef. So I guess, that's the only thing. It'll be interesting just to see how I do on this.
Yeah, that's a good question because there are probably some beef proteins in there. And so sometimes when people are reacting to different components of the animal, sometimes it's the protein, but oftentimes in beef, it's also um, it's the chemicals in the grass that they've been eating. If they are lucky to have grass, a lot of them who are not getting grass, they're getting feed, which has gluten in it. So anything that an animal eats ends up coming out in its meat, and then you consume it. So if the animal eats gluten and dairy and whatever, corn, and you can't tolerate those things, you're not going to be able to eat that meat, but you're not going to know why you're reacting to that meat.
Right.
Right?
Well, I guess I'll find out because
Yeah.
there's probably not organic beef stuff in here, but I don't know.
It's a good question. I think it might be New Zealand bovine. Those are like the healthiest ones that everybody's using.
Oh,
That's right. Go Kiwis. um, and it's bovine serum. So it's actually the blood. It's a component of the blood.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bovine
So
based.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a problem with beef blood, then you should be okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't eat a lot of beef, but
Yeah.
I guess I'll find out.
You will. You will. Great. Let's see. Were there any other questions that you had? Oh, you received the Beyond Balance IMN Calm, MASTI. Should I be taking those at the same time? So you will eventually take those at the same time, but remember, you're introducing one new thing every 4 to 7 days. So you're just going down that list, you're adding those things in, you're watching for what happens. You're being like the ultimate scientist so that you can convey to me and to Mickey what's happening, and so we can advise you appropriately if you're not able to get up to full dose for some reason.
So eventually try taking both of those, or just one of those. Do they both kind of do different things?
They do different things. The IMN calms the immune system.
Okay.
The MAST ease decreases the release of histamine from mast cells. So that helps with allergy.
Okay.
And so they do different things. And for some people, they do better on one thing than the other. And some people do really well on both of those. So I would say, just proceed and see if you're not reacting well to it, then it may not be a right now sort of thing. It might be something to come back to later.
Okay. And I do have some activated quercetin, and I guess Mickey had said something about maybe taking that before I eat to see if that would make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, is that just adding too much to what I've got?
As
Or
long
just
as you
play
do it,
around with it?
yeah, as long as you're doing it where you're changing one variable at a time, I think it's a fine idea. I mean, it's very similar to the MAST ease, but it's a single agent, which, as you can hear when we're talking here about sensitivities, that can be really helpful. But yeah, it stabilizes the mast cell so that it's not dumping so much histamine, which means that you're less reactive.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a good idea to take before your food, but you also have to do it in isolation and make sure that it's not making you feel worse by not changing anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Great questions. All right. Let me see if there's anything else that's kind of snuck in here. Any questions? So I'm refreshing. While we're waiting on that, anybody, we can open up the floor. Yeah, nothing else came in. We can open up the floor to questions. Who's got questions? Gary, go for it. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
All righty. Can you hear
Hey
me?
there. Yes, I
I
can.
do.
How you doing?
Good. I was just wondering how, what supplements over the course of taking all these supplements, which ones I'm going to need the most of so that I don't run out. So that, I mean, when I initially ordered, I pretty much ordered like one bottle of everything that my symptoms suggested to order.
Right.
And I've already run out of, what was it, the ATP and one and something else.
Yep.
Adrenal, one of the adrenal ones. So I just wanted to make sure to order, enough all at once so that I can just not have to, because sometimes it takes a while to get stuff in.
Right. So what I do is I always order 2 bottles at a time, and when I run out of a bottle and I start going into the next bottle, then I order my next bottle.
Okay.
So and every week I'm filling my pill container. I do that on Saturdays or Sundays.
Okay.
And then I know because I'm emptying out a bottle and I make a list of the things that I have to get.
Okay. So how long am I going to be taking all these things? Probably for months and months.
And yeah, until you're better, and you have to remember that like the big 3 and a lot of the stuff in step 2 is really a band-aid until we're able to get rid of the toxicities in step 4. Once you get rid of that stuff in step 4, then you're going to require less of the stuff in step 2.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really hard to calculate right now anyway, and so I just recommend doing it as you run out of stuff. Just make sure you've got a backup bottle because you are going to be on it for an extended period of time.
All right.
How's your progress been going?
Pretty much, I felt a little bit better a couple days ago, and then I got over it. So, yeah.
Where are you at in the process? What step are you in?
Well, step 1, I guess. Well, step 2.
Step 2.
Okay. Yeah, assessed everything, and then now I'm just adding supplements in. I just added the Maca men's hormone thing, whatever it is.
Yep, Revolution Pro.
Yeah, Revolution Pro. So a couple days ago I added that. And so that's just basically, is that all I need to be doing at this point? Just taking supplements and adding in more?
Exactly.
Every 4 days I'm just supposed to add another something? Is that the idea?
Absolutely. That is exactly the idea. And so you're fixing all of the 20 plus causes that you have as you're going through this process, adding them in. The only other thing you have to do besides supplements is obviously lifestyle habits, making sure that you're gluten-free, dairy-free, eating lots of vegetables. You're still doing your saunas?
I'm addicted.
That's good. Still doing the saunas. That's great. And then the mindset stuff. Mindset stuff is huge. So make sure you're doing your daily practice. Make sure you're doing your gratitudes, your visioning, you're picturing yourself on a beach, on a boat, all the energy that you could possibly want, whatever it is that is your dream. You have to be envisioning that every day. Picture your perfect day from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep at night where you're like, oh my gosh, that was the perfect day.
Okay.
Every single morning.
All
Multiple
right.
times a day if you want to. But yeah, you're definitely on the right track. And so as you're adding those things in, then you should be moving into step 3, opening the detox pathways, add all that stuff in. And so by month 3 or 4, you should be pretty much full up on almost everything. And at that point, there's just, depending on the number of step 4 stuff you have, some of that stuff can take 3 to 6 months to get rid of out of the body, but you've got your protocol and it's just maintaining at that point. You're not adding any new stuff in.
Okay.
Yeah. Good questions.
Okay. And we were mentioning organic food and stuff a minute ago. Am I allowed to put a shameless plug in? I started a YouTube channel a couple of months ago, and I did a video on organic food. Am I allowed to shamelessly plug that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're here to support you.
Okay. Well, if anybody's interested, I don't know how. Should I put a link somewhere or just give you give you a name you could type in to try to search for it, or
Sure.
how do you
So
want to do it?
you can either put a link in the chat here.
Okay.
If you don't have it offhand, you can always put it into the group and ask us to like it and subscribe and watch
Okay.
it,
All
and
right.
we'll all go ahead and do that.
Okay. All right.
That's great. Way to go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Anything else, Gary?
No, I guess not at this point.
Okay, great.
Oh, so at one point am I going to need to order the labs? I haven't done that yet. So
Yep.
at what point is going to be mandatory that happens?
So you're going to want to do that a month before it's time to start going after step 4 stuff. So I would say at any point here, you can order the labs, the 25% that you can't tell by symptoms.
Okay.
So that's like the heavy metals, the chemicals, the molds. Those are like the big ones that you need to order. And then any other questions that you had about any of the other causes that you weren't sure about.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So when I do the labs, is that going to tell me if mold is a problem for me?
Absolutely. It's going to tell you if there's mold in your body.
Okay, so I ordered the kit for to test for mold. That was like the $50 part, but I haven't actually done all the swiping and sent it back in and all that. That's the more expensive part.
Right.
And I was thinking maybe I should have waited on that to see if mold's actually an issue at all. So I mean, if I don't have a mold problem, do I need to really bother spending money on that?
It's a good question. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that while the urine mold test, the urine mycotoxin test is a very, very good test, all the tests that we have are imperfect. And one of the most important things that we can do is to figure out if you're living in mold.
Okay.
And so I would still do it. I would do them both. Because sometimes what we find is that somebody's living in mold and nothing shows up on their urine test, and it's because their detoxification pathways are so clogged with mycotoxins that they're not able to dump any. And then we work on it for a couple of months, we repeat the test, and then all of a sudden they got all this mycotoxin in their urine once you start opening up the pathways and whatnot. So I would, and that's part of the reason why we do a provocation with glutathione, because the idea is that we're better able to like mobilize the toxins that are in the body into the bloodstream, and then you can collect it when it comes out in the urine. So I would do both.
Okay.
Good
Go
question.
ahead and do that. All right.
Yeah. Great. Go Hawks.
1-0 every week.
All right. Every week. That's right. I think Russell was 30 for 35.
Man.
Pretty impressive.
If he wasn't stealing all the money, we could afford an offensive line.
I know, that's true too. Yeah, that's true. All right, great. What other questions do you guys have before we adjourn? Candace.
You were suggesting to someone else something they could take for their anxiety or whatever. Is that something I could do?
I think so that's a Band-Aid. Using a pharmagaba or the gabatone, it can be helpful, but I think at this point, I'd be more concerned with you reacting to it. That sometimes it's just better to not mess around and have you feel worse, and it's better just to go for the gold. If I had something, oh, you know what? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just suffer through.
Yeah, no, I don't want you to suffer through. One thing, I was thinking about something that I could give you that was topical. And there is the Amantia, AMA Amantia, which I just put in the chat box, is an herb that is really helpful for sleep. It's really helpful for anxiety, and it comes in a tincture form. So you could potentially also use that rubbed into the hands before bed in the afternoons, a couple times a day. As needed for anxiety. So that would be something to consider.
It does something on your store too?
It is. Yeah, let me just double
Okay.
check it. I know it's on the international store, but let me just double check that it's on the domestic stores as well. The Yank store, as those pommies call us. Elizabeth liked that one. I'm on the oh, maybe I don't have it on there. I'll have to put it on there. I'm on,
Who makes it?
it's Nutrimetics.
I think they're also in my town.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah, it's not on here, but I will put it on there. And so it should be on there in the next 24 hours or so. Well, today's Friday, so it'll probably be on there early next week.
And I can just use that as, you know, ad lib, like as often as I feel like it.
Well, I would start off with just one drop and see how long it lasts you. Make sure you're not reacting to it, taking it, you know, several days away from anything else, same sort of thing, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh, Gary put his link in there, so we'll have to check that out when we're done here. Very exciting. Whoa. That's a really pretty video. 12 big reasons to eat organic, and there's like, it's like fancy, impressive. Did you do all your own editing, Gary? Oh, I can't hear you. Let's unmute you. Oh, I can't unmute you. You got to unmute yourself.
That's a negative.
Oh, okay. You hired
Yeah.
somebody to do that?
Well, I have a team. Yeah.
Nice.
That helps me put together videos. Yes. I mean, I'm already doing enough work on my own, and it's a lot of work, just the parts that I do.
Right.
And if I was doing everything, I don't think that video would be done yet.
I hear you. That's great. Awesome. Well, we'll check it out for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, we're going to adjourn. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Wow, we did a marathon. I didn't even know how long we went. Almost 2 hours. I couldn't even tell. It's just so much fun hanging out with you guys as always. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. And I'll see you in the
Thank you,
group.
Dr. Evan.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.